Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. It's Brandon with Campbell Fitness, and today's video is going to talk about bulking, particularly clean versus dirty, what the differences are between the two, and which you should strive for. So for this, the first thing that we need to do is identify what bulking is. Now for most of us, the term bulking simply means to put ourselves in a caloric surplus in the pursuit of gaining more muscle. Now we're also familiar with this term, as most of us know who've gone on bulks before, that we are to expect some kind of fat gain with it. So for this, what I want to talk about is when most people go into a cut or even a bulk, the first thing they do is they look at their maintenance level of calories. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with what this term means, it is the amount of calories you would need to eat each day in order for your body to remain the same as far as weight goes. So it takes into account your daily activity level as well as other functions within your body that burn calories. Now in order to go on a cut or a bulk, most people use a standard unit of measure of 500 calories either way. So for most people who are cutting, they typically look to go at a 500 calorie deficit. The reason being is there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat, so they figure over the course of the week, if they do 500 calories deficit each day, that will add up to 3,500 calories, and they should ideally lose 1 pound each week. The same thing is usually true when talking about bulking. Most people go into a 500 calorie surplus. Over the course of the week, they aim to gain 1 pound per week. Over the course of the month, this should lead to about a 4 to 5 pound benefit. So for this, what I want to also talk about is the clean versus dirty factor. What I want to stay away from is people's typical classifications of clean versus dirty as far as it relates to food sources. So when most people hear clean foods, they think foods that are very basic, bland, chicken, brown rice, vegetables. And when they hear dirty, they hear high calorie, high fat, maybe refined carbohydrates. I don't want to take those into example when I'm talking about bulking, only because I don't really look at foods that way. You've known from videos in the past on this channel as well as my old channel that it's not really fair to identify one particular food or one particular meal as healthy or unhealthy. The reason being is dieting takes place in the long term, over the course of several weeks, months, and years, in order to actually see results. So just because you eat something that has maybe high calories or high fat, it doesn't necessarily mean your overall diet is bad or unhealthy. And I'm going to kind of take that forward when we talk about the types of bulks out there, clean versus dirty. So first let's talk about the definition of clean versus dirty bulking, and we'll focus on clean first. So for a clean bulk, what's typically done is a very slight caloric surplus, maybe something as low as 100 or 200 calories. The reason behind this is because what we want to do and accomplish here is really minimize the fat gain that we see and only really focus on lean muscle. Now I know what you're probably thinking, well Brandon, that's the goal of any of us. We just want to focus on the lean muscle here, which is very true. However, one of the things that you'll also find with most people is that we're very impatient. I know it happens to me sometimes as well, where we'd like to see results overnight. Now unfortunately, things don't work that way, and what we need to do is look at the long term here. So with a clean bulk or a very slight caloric surplus, what you'll see is a very slow but steady weight gain, to the fact where you can really minimize the amount of fat that you're adding on. The downside for most people doing this is that it's a very slow process, and some people get frustrated at their lack of results because what they want to do is they want to gain weight and they want to gain muscle, which is where dirty bulking comes in. So for me, a dirty bulk, again, isn't necessarily the types of food that you eat for reasons previously mentioned, but it more comes into play as in the amount of fat that you add during your bulking cycle. So for someone who's going on what I call a dirty bulk, that's when they're typically going at a 500 calorie surplus or sometimes even more. Where true, you will probably add more muscle because you're taking in more calories, but the chances of you gaining a lot of fat is also very high as well. However, the upside to this is that the results seem to come quicker because again, you're taking in more calories. Over time, comparing the two, the amount of calories you take in on a 100 to 200 surplus is far dwarfed by the amount you take in on a 500 or higher surplus. But when it comes down to it, not only does the time come into play, but again, the amount of fat that you're likely to add on either of these two cycles. So as far as which one is better and which one I suggest, unfortunately, I'm not going to have a really concrete answer for you here because it really comes down to personal preference. If you're the type that would like to remain more lean all year round and not really carry a high level of body fat percentage, then a clean bulk is probably for you. Again, one of the things you're going to want to keep on top of mind here is that it's going to take longer to actually see results and see weight gain, but the upside to that is that you should hardly see as much fat gain as a dirty bulk, which in the long term and short term will see faster results, but with those results you're likely to carry a more high percent of body fat. So when it comes down to it, it's really up to you as far as what you're comfortable holding, as far as how your body composition goes. But either way, both are effective ways of gaining muscle and seeing results in the long run. Hope that answers some questions, everybody. As always, appreciate you watching and stay big.